All right, today is Monday, November the 5th of 2018. I call this meeting to order. Sandy, can you roll call? I don't have my gavel.
Oh, I'm here for you. Mr. Warren.
Present.
Mr. Sims.
Present.
Ms. Jacobs.
Present.
Mr. Henderson.
Present.
Mr. Lockett. Mr. Hill.
Present.
All right, you also have Anna Dow and Sandy Edmonds. You have a quorum.
All right, first item, I need to have the agenda amended to add the apprentice extension request for a Rachel Emard. I need to roll call that vote. She needs the extension due to birth. She gave birth to a child and missed her last auction, so she needs the extension so she can get one more auction in.
Okay. I'll make.
Henderson.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yeah. Present.
Ms. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Sims.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes.
And you were voting to amend the agenda. Mr.
Where are you
Hill,
putting
yes?
it on the agenda?
It's going to be put right between 3 and 4. So after 3. Sure. Haven't got there yet, but go for it.
Okay. Also, while you amend the agenda, I would also ask that we would
Oh, okay. That was me. I thought you'd like to go first so you could lead.
I don't see a problem.
That's up to the chairman.
You're not adding something, you're just changing the order.
Just changing the order?
Do we need a motion to do that?
Put her.
Yeah, we're gonna have to motion to amend it just like we did the last one. Anybody want a motion? Anybody want to make a motion?
What was it? I didn't
To
hear.
move the agenda, instead of under agenda item number 5, he wants to be listed as number 2, not number 1. He wants to flip-flop with Missouri.
I don't know. What's the reason for that? I move that we not amend the agenda, leave it like it is.
I mean, it doesn't really require a motion, to be honest with you, just to take up things out of order. Yeah, it's not adding anything to the agenda.
So do you want an amendment, motion or not?
Y'all make the decision.
I'm not for it, but
Yes, it'd have to be unanimous to amend the agenda.
I mean, I don't care. I don't see the problem with it being moved. So,
I don't have a feeling one way or the other. Doesn't matter to me. But we don't have to amend the agenda, right?
no.
Okay. Whatever.
So, is it my decision or the vote?
Yours.
You can go ahead and just make the decision.
Well, let's change it. He's going to be number 2. All right. Now we are to a public comment on today's agenda. Is there anybody in the public who wants to comment on the agenda? All right. Next item will be approval of the minutes from the September 10th, 2018 meeting.
I move that the minutes be approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Do we need to discuss anything? Anybody opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is going to be the attorney report, investigative report. Executive session, do you need executive
I
session?
need executive session pursuant to the statutes listed in the agenda, all of them 4217A1, A4, and A10.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Henderson.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Sims.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes.
All right,
We're
we're
in
in
executive
executive
session. Did you get that again?
Do we need to do that again, or did you get it?
What the,
The roll call.
no,
You didn't get it?
No.
You wanna do
Motion to
roll
come out of
call?
executive
Okay.
session.
So moved.
I second.
Roll call.
Mr. Henderson.
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Okay, we're back
Motion
in session.
passes. All right, the next item on the agenda is tested auctioneer.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa,
The Brown complainant.
whoa. I move that we
Oh.
close out Jacob Brown's bond.
There you
Let
go,
me
sorry.
make the presentation first, so that everybody's aware what we're doing. With regard to the hearings against Jacob Brown, including the one last meeting and the ones before, we have 4 individuals or companies who have filed claims. We notified the bonding company for Jacob Brown and Brown's auction that those findings have been made and not appealed. As of shortly thereafter, they provided the full payment of $10,000 to the board. As you know, all bonds are payable to the board. Those were paid directly to the board. I'm asking the board today to make payments in the following amounts to the 4 complainants who were found to be due that money. Those complainants are Donnie Campbell in the amount of $345. He has agreed to that. The next one is Fred James in the amount of $735, and he has agreed to that through his attorney. With regard to Transcan, a company who was found to be due money from Jacob Brown, they have agreed to the amount of $1,920, as well as the state of Louisiana has agreed to the payment of $7,000 for payment from the board for the amount due to them. These amounts are prorated for the total amount of $10,000. I would ask the board to approve payments of the bond to these individuals on receipt of a signed release from those parties agreeing to the amount and releasing the board from any further liability.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the payments to those people who have requested payment as indicated in the conference today.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I
Any
think
further
we ought to
discussion?
roll call this.
Any other further discussion? All right, roll call it.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. All right, now we can go to tested applicant, auctioneer applicant, Mr. David Smith.
Yes, and he's requesting his license be effective today, as opposed to January
I know that's
1st, which
coming
is the
up.
next next
Everything's in?
applicant. Yes, sir, everything's in.
Move that he be granted a license.
And I second.
So any further discussion on Mr. Smith? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
And you'll hear why.
Motion passes. The next one's going to be reciprocal auctioneer applicants. Mr. Luke Mobley.
Where's Mr. Mobley from?
He's from Arkansas, and he's requesting his license be effective January 1st.
Everything in?
Yes, sir.
Move that he be granted.
And I second.
Is there any further discussion on Mr. Mobley? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. The next one's going to be the amended item of the apprentice extension from Miss Rachel
Fremont.
Emard.
I move that her extension be granted.
And I second.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. The next item will be the approval of the financials.
I move that the financials be approved as listed in the report to the committee.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. The next one will be distant learning school approvals for auctioneer education. I had a request to move, flip-flop that, so Missouri Auto Auction will be number 1.
Why have we got this title, this?
Because that's essentially what it is. I mean,
Are we going to have discussion on it now,
Yeah,
Mr.
you
Chairman?
know, yeah.
Well, I mean, I've
It's
done my
Missouri Auto
own...
Auction School's
Yeah.
on the board.
On the Missouri Auction School, number one,
Yeah, you can say auto.
Sorry, auction.
I mean, I've looked at that, and they said that they would be reciprocal with us, but I'm against that. Number one, we don't have any laws in Louisiana which actually sanction auctioneer school by video. And I think that that would have to be passed by the legislature. Second of all, I don't like the idea of long-distance teaching. I think certainly if the Missouri Auction School would want to offer continuing education, if in fact we have that again, and I believe that might be up this year for consideration, I would have no objection to that, having some of these courses placed on the internet where we come and we pay to be educated by it. But I would be against a school being licensed to do their whole program by videotape.
You making that as a motion? Or you just discussing?
No,
That's
that's my
discussion.
discussion. I did quite a lot of research when I got all the information, not only on this, but on Mr. Phillips' school, because I wanted to give everybody a fair chance on this. And that's just the way I feel.
I mean,
Where are
I've
the
got-
laws in Louisiana that sanction it? I could find none.
No, but the auctioneer, once he's got a license, would be sanctioned. I mean, he'd be adhere to our rules and policies, so I mean,
But the school, to have a school by video, where people are taught by videotape on the internet, I think that would need legislative approval. I think that would have to be approved by the legislature. I don't think you can just come out and give every Tom, Dick, and Harry a license to go have a school to teach people.
just because they teach online?
Huh?
Just because there's an online version?
Because it's online,
I don't
yes.
know of anybody you can get a degree online, period, paragraph. Now, you
Right.
can get some stuff that goes toward
A
an
degree
advanced
for
degree or
like a
whatever.
BA, MBA?
Anything.
I know, sir, I
haven't
can get an
found
MBA
anything.
online right now. I'm actually about to enter it.
In most,
So,
in most
that's
cases,
incorrect.
as it relates to distance education, there is a residency component that comes into play.
Right.
So you can do the majority of your classes, whether it's a fall or a spring, online, but at some point in time in the summer, you actually have, whether it's the summer or wherever, you actually have to go to that place for however many hours. You have to have so many hours
You can't do it
before you
totally.
can just
Yeah.
graduate.
Found
So
it.
it's not,
You do it
so
totally.
it's a hybrid type of
Right.
situation. However, still the majority of the instruction, though, is primarily online.
I would have no objection to having continuing education online.
No, that's already taught.
Although, well,
That's
I mean,
already taught with the state of Texas.
And,
So-
but to actually have a school where we would want to have reciprocity with other states, I think it would be a problem. And in fact, I did receive from the board a list of schools who said that they, who asked whether or not they would consider online reciprocity. And based upon the list that I received, only Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Virginia said that they would do it. So, I would like to open it up for discussion by any other board members, and other than that, with regard to the Missouri Auctioneer School, I'd ask for a vote.
I mean, everything that I'm involved in as far as education, even the selling of mine, whatever the case may be, is migrating to be online, period. So it's either, I mean, what do we keep delaying it for? If not, we need to push the ball forward to where we're getting to the point where we can vote on this and vote yes for it and get it going, because this is going to be the future. I know we work in a unique trade where it does take physical, I hate to use the word touch, but I mean, it needs interaction, person to person, but at the same time, if the person is teaching correctly online, what does that matter when he comes back to the state and is able to pass our licensing test with flying colors? To me, I mean, I disagree. I mean, I don't see a problem with anything being educated online.
Okay,
as far as
and
that.
it may come to that, but I
It
don't
may
think,
come to that,
and we're
but
not
until
there
the laws
yet.
have changed, I'm not gonna go for it. I'm sorry, I can't do
I
it. My
can't, me
people are
neither.
against it. I have
I'm
told
not
my
trying to lobby. I'm
I know, Jacob, I understand how you feel, and quite frankly, I don't blame you the way you feel. I know it's going in that direction.
What laws need to be changed though?
You're going to change the state licensing statute to do it, because it has nothing to do with online teaching. It says you must attend an
Right.
accredited auction school.
Right.
So by voting it in, wouldn't it be an accredited auction school?
We can't
By the
vote it in, the
legislature,
legislature
not
would have
us.
to do it.
The legislature's got to do it. The internet didn't even
That's what I'm saying.
exist when this
But
law
by
was
approving the school, would it not get it there?
No.
No, you gotta have to get
You
somebody
gotta get the
responsible to the
legislative approval.
legislature.
This law was
Right.
done before there ever was an internet.
I'm not.
You might not agree with it, but
No,
go
I'm
get some
not.
Attorney
That's fine.
General's opinion
Our
and see.
application.
Wait, Terry's got something to say.
No, I was just going to ask, I mean, what is the steps to becoming an accredited school? Is it just strictly through legislative intent, or is it some association?
They can apply, and the curriculum is submitted to this board, and the curriculum is approved. Most schools have 85 to 90 hours of online, in-person class
Yeah.
attended, one-on-one teaching. And that's the way it's in the law here in this state now. It says you must attend an accredited auction school in person, not online. The internet and online didn't even exist when this law was written. I understand the law is out of date. I'm not arguing that. But until the legislature changes the law and allows it, can't do it.
Okay, and let me give you an example. For instance, I was interested in internet auction sales, which some people are doing now, even though we don't have the law. And I have given everybody a copy of what my proposal is, and I've given it to Terry. But that doesn't mean that it automatically passes if the board would approve it. It has to go through the legislature to get approval.
So you tell me every auction school, correct me if I'm wrong, every auction school that comes to here that wants to say, I want to open an auction school, Jacob Warren's School of Auctioneering. I come to this board, submit it, then I have to go to another to get accredited? Is that what we're saying?
I think he said you got to get...
If that's the case, I misunderstood.
No, because Louisiana law doesn't recognize it yet. You'd have to go to the legislature to get approval.
But I'm talking about a physical classroom, not online, just
You
a
mean to read the
school.
statute, our
Yes,
statute?
yes,
It says
please.
specifically that anyone who wants to be an auctioneer must complete a series of studies at a school of auctioneering licensed or approved by the board, period. That's it. If y'all have, basically.
I don't see where the online portion's going to
There's
come in
been
and
nothing
harm
saying
in
it
any
has
way.
to be in person or online.
No, sir, that's not on my agenda to want to get
Well,
on.
I
But
mean, you're
I
gonna
don't see-
be the outcast in the state if you do this.
Oh, well, I don't understand how I could be that way just for trying to progress us to the future. I mean, this is an
I don't
opportunity
have
for
a
Louisiana to be
I tell you
first
what
in
to do,
something
Jacob.
instead of last in
I
every
tell
other
you what to
thing.
do, Jacob. The legislature meets in March.
I don't see why we have to go to the legislature. And after this meeting, I have no problem looking into that and calling and talking, and I will gladly do that. But I don't.
I think you
right now,
do need to go to the legislature.
I'm not
think it's gotta go
being
to the
sold on the
It
fact
does.
that
I've
we
already
need to go do that.
talked, I already talked to somebody. It's got to go to the legislature.
All right, well.
I mean, we can play all the games we want to play, but until we go through that legislature and get it done, it's gonna be illegal. I done been told flat out it's gonna be illegal. I mean, whatever. I didn't write the law. I wasn't around when the law was wrote.
And
All can do is
I
how
think
it
a lot of
came
other people should be consulted, like the Louisiana Association of Professional Auctioneers. Most of us belong to that. And I mean, I want to see what they have to say about that, not just what us as board members would have to say about it. I'm sorry, Terry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, clearly, we are, because I see where our thoughts are on this. I wouldn't want to deny the auction school, but I would say we could table it until, if possible, to table it until January to do the further due diligence, because what I'm thinking that might satisfy both sides of the issue is where it falls under distance education and how that's related. Because if you will accept CEUs given online, then, and there are private, public universities who provide whole courses online, And then you have the for-profit universities, which a number of people go to because it's online, because of work schedules, and those are accepted, because they're accredited by SACS or whomever. Then there has to be a way that isn't necessarily so labor-intensive that we can find an amenable solution to moving forward on this. And so I would offer at the appropriate time just a motion to table this until January, if that's the will of the board.
Okay, I have something else to say with regard to Missouri. Missouri is not a civil law state. Louisiana is a civil law state. And I have problems with a common law state teaching civil law to people in Louisiana when they don't really understand the concepts. I have problems with that. And I think anybody else would have a problem with that, too. What if someone does something and they're relying on what they were taught by a common law system and they do something wrong? What are they going to tell a judge? Oh, my common law professor told me that that's the way it should be.
The Missouri Auction School, is it not an accredited school?
It is certified by the Missouri
Yeah, for us
Department of
to
Education.
go there.
But with us?
Yeah.
With
But-
us? Oh, yes, okay.
So if the same
But
curriculum,
they're-
same material, same instructors, everything's online, what changes? How does it change?
Because
They're
if
teaching
you're
the
sitting in a
same
class, you can ask them whether or not this is a civil law.
thing. If that's the case, you need to tell the owner of my business he's not allowed to have the doctorate that's hanging on his wall because it was completely 100% online.
Well, I'm
I'm not
against
gonna
it.
tell you, boss,
Yeah.
anything.
No, I'm using it as an
Frankly,
example.
I don't give a damn, but when it comes to this,
I think this is an important step.
I'm not picking
for
on
us to
Robert
do. This is
Fred.
very important.
But we're
I don't
talking about
think we
Missouri
can just-
Auction School right now.
Right
This
now,
is very important that I don't think we can let this thing pass without having commentary from other people that may be affected in the state.
Well, let me
Particularly
tell you
if you want to be
I know this
you
for a
want to have
fact.
reciprocity. I have reciprocity with Mississippi. It took me 2 years to get that reciprocity. 2 years.
But the reciprocity is only going to be affected by those who attend these schools where they don't accept a reciprocal license.
And there's only 4 now that will accept it, according to the
And that's
information
on
I
these
got.
schools. If they want to teach and limit their students
Well-
to that, that's on them.
I have a problem with it.
I think going down the road eventually, I think everyone will be accepted. I think it'll be.
It may be in
100%.
5 or 6 years, but I don't think it's there now.
Let me say this. In Missouri School Auctioneering and Defense, I did not go to school there. But I'm very well familiar with the man that ran that school for our 25 years I knew personally before he died, and that was Dick DeWeese. Dick DeWeese had anywhere from 9 to 20 instructors in that 2-week period of time. It came in and taught you specialty auctioneering in various fields. Now, you can't get that online because about the most you can do so I've been told by people that's doing it, is 6 to 8, maybe 9 in that time period, because it would take so much film and so much time online, nobody could afford to do it. I think in this deal here, Missouri is showing 8 people.
It's the same amount of hours to go live as it is online. And then, they've got a clause in here that says it includes on-demand lectures plus daily live webinars of
Live.
the online chain instructions.
Live webinars.
Yeah, where you have to be logged in live at the certain specific time.
So you're streaming.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
yes. So, it's the same, to me, that's the same as being there. I know, and again, we can chalk it up as a generational gap or whatever. But I see your point. I see what you're saying 100%. But the voices that you want to talk to us or give us their opinion or whatnot, this thing has been on the agenda, I don't know, 3-5 times now. I don't know. How long are we going to kick this can
we've
without
already
them
in
voicing
here.
their concern?
It hasn't
I
been
know
on the
it
agenda
twice
since
it's
I've
been
been on the
voted
board.
down with by a previous chairman, and it keeps being brought back up.
Because it's
Since
the
I've been on the
future.
board,
The
it
internet's not
hasn't
going away.
been brought up. I haven't
I
had
didn't
it.
say it was, Jacob.
But education on the internet isn't either. This is, either we
I
do it
tell you
now or we're
what,
going to do it
Jacob.
5 years from now and be the last state in the union to do it. I mean, that's,
So what? If you are the last damn state in the union, what's that got to do with the price of tea?
it's got nothing to do with it other than the fact that nothing's
All
going to
you
change.
want to be
what
is the
I'm
first chairman, the first damn state in the
saying. It's got
nation
nothing to
it.
do with me, Mr. Sims. Not a
Well,
thing.
you
to
said
do with me.
the first remark
I
you
wanna-
made to me was, I want to be progressive and be the first to do it. You told us
As
that
a
2
state,
years
not
ago.
me.
I
As a
didn't
state.
say you personally.
I would like to hear from other people in the state. I think that they should have some skin in the game, not just me, not just Mr. Sims, not just you, and to see what they think, because right now, Louisiana, I think is well recognized with regard to their teaching and their auctioneers, and I want to make sure that we can keep that. So, I mean, I'm ready to vote unless somebody else has something to say
I
on
tell you
it.
what let's do. I'm gonna make a suggestion. Sandy can send a letter to every licensed auctioneer in this state and let them take a vote. Let her poll it. And let it come back, and this whole board sets us a committee to look at it.
I would be interested in that. I want to see
think
what other
that
people
way
want to know
we
about
cut
it.
and dry this and see what the auctioneers in
Yeah.
the state feel about it, see how they feel.
Right.
Because I'm gonna tell you, whatever auctioneer I've talked to north of Alexandria has told me, quote unquote, they don't care who it is. It's nothing but a diploma mill.
And I think the ones in my area
It's a
feel
word
that way too.
used, diploma mill.
Right. Well, we may be ready to vote, Jacob. I mean, I don't know.
I move it be tabled until we get some kind of survey back from our licensed auctioneers.
And I
in the
would
state.
second that. I would second that.
I hate to keep dragging this out, Jacob, but I want to be fair to you too. And that's why I'm doing this, because everybody up there has done told me how to vote. North Alexandria.
I second your motion, Mr. Sims.
So we're going to table this thing to January and get votes from other
No,
auctioneers
I
around
think,
the state.
well, I don't know that we can table, we got to table it until we can get the votes from other auctioneers. I don't think you can do
it
that
would
by
be
January.
sensible, and I think it would be a better situation if it was tabled today and give Sandy 120 days to get it out and get it back.
Yes.
That's fair. That's
How
fair
about
to
if we
everybody.
email it?
Huh?
How about if we email it? So we
Some people
have
may
it?
not have computers. They may not be computer literate.
Well, for the people who do receive it by email, email it. For those who don't,
Right.
mail it. I think 120, I like the idea. I think 120 days is too long.
I agree.
I would
Well, I mean,
say,
that would be the March meeting. I don't think you can do it, because some of it's going to be some of it's
Okay,
got to go
it
through
take-
U.S. mail.
It takes a week to get typed up, 2 days tops to get where
But
it's
you
going.
got the holidays
And you
coming
got-
in.
you
A
got
lot of people are out of
holidays coming.
state for holidays, so they're doing stuff and
so we're looking at
March.
the delta of it, of the total population doesn't matter. I think, because I've been in situations like this before, we can keep dragging and dragging and dragging, waiting on other people, but at some point in time, the buck will have to stop with us.
I agree.
And so,
And I want to make this clear. I'm not totally against this.
oh no, I don't think that you are at all. I don't
I
think
got
that
an
you
open
are.
mind about it, and I don't mind doing anything being progressive as long as the law allows it. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Right.
I took an oath in this, when I took this seat, I took an oath that I would abide by the Constitution and the laws of the state of Louisiana. Period, paragraph. And I don't think it's in the law. And that's where my position is. If it was in the law, you wouldn't have a word kicked about me. You wouldn't hear a word out of me, but it's not in the law. If it was, I wouldn't be doing this.
I understand, Mr. Sims. Mr. Warren?
I mean,
If you want to try
no,
to do it for January,
we can table. I mean, the board is going to vote. Majority is going to win, whatever the case may be. You know, majority of the vote. But I want to, whether it's yes, no, table it, whatever the case may be. I want to see the law, and I just haven't seen it yet. I haven't been showed the law where it says this. I mean, this. So I mean, look, I get your stance. I do. And, you know, just you said you've been asked by other people to vote other ways. Well, I mean, I'm on the opposite end. I've got people that want online education said, man, if that would have been available for me, that would have been way more convenient. So I mean, I'm the opposite end of that, which is fine to have differing opinions. We obviously differ in opinion, and we're still friends at the end of the day. But again, I'm not here to try to persuade anyone or whatnot. It just, I don't see why we got to keep bringing this thing up every so often, so often, so often.
Mr. Warren,
Same.
can I just jump in? I answer the phone at the office, and people that are calling wanting auction school, the first thing they say is, where can I go online and get it? The people that are coming through want it. I mean, I don't want to say something unpopular, but I want you guys to think about this. I can't help but say this. You're saying you want to know what the auctioneers think. The programs that people used to be MBAs live and they now get an MBA online, they didn't go back and ask all their past graduates, do you think we should now offer it online? To me, it's very backwards thinking. But
There are very few MBAs online, and if you get an MBA online, it's going to affect your ability to get a job, I can
mean,
tell you.
just any
As someone
degree.
who hires quite a few people, it would affect me if someone told me they got their MBA online. I would not hire them, because that means they didn't have the fortitude to go sit in class and learn. That's like getting a paper degree with me.
That's
They
where
would
a lot
not
of
be
people
hired by
do.
me.
And Frank, as far as that goes, Sandy, I don't care what the people call it, in, think, or won't. I'm representing the licensed auctioneers and the consumers of this state. I am not representing somebody that's calling and
That
inquiring whether
wants
they
a
go
quickie
online and
degree.
get a license.
That wants a quickie degree to become an auctioneer real fast.
I mean-
It takes hard work, it takes study, and it's not easy to be an auctioneer. And frankly, I think if you're going to get one where you're going to just get a bill where they turn people out, this board is going to be extremely busy.
I'll agree with that, but I think we're going to discredit any school to assume they're not going to be teaching the right stuff, not going to be
Well,
live webinaring with these people to hear their chant, to see face-to-face interaction. I mean, that worst case scenario is they do, then they got to come out, and then next thing you know, we hear there's a problem, and then they're in our realm.
and then you've already
fine
approved them, and then then it's going to be
revoke their
really hard to
license
get them disqualified. So you have to really nip it in the butt before it happens. And if you're going to have online schools, I think you need a lot of regulation. Just like I took the time to go ahead and work up internet auctions and give you all something that maybe the legislature would approve, and to work it that way, rather than just having someone coming up here and say, yeah, we want to go ahead and apply to Louisiana, and this is our curriculum.
I think that, if we're gonna do this, it's got to be done in a uniform way. It's going to have to be rules and regulations put out with this board, and we all going to vote on them.
And I
it's gonna
want
have
to see
be
that program.
adhered
I want to
to.
look at it.
There's not
And I
gonna be
couldn't
any
with what I got.
deviating from it. One shoe's gonna fit everybody that does this.
Right.
And I mean, until laws change, and
Right.
we get some regulations in place to govern it. Right now, we have nothing.
They fall under the same laws for a school as it is. Nothing's changing but the fact of the way that they're delivering a method.
Then that's
So
a
what's
problem.
All
different
we have done
what's
is-
different from these students showing up and just popping a tape in, a VHS tape into a TV, and they're sitting live, but they're watching a video? I'm sure that happened somewhere in America.
Okay, well, I mean, we can
I don't
argue
know
till
whether-
the cows
No, I
are
know,
ready
I know, and
I'm
I
ready to
know.
vote. There's a motion on the floor for it to be tabled, I believe. Is that your motion, Mr. Sims?
That's it.
That
Table
is
it
your
till
motion?
when, though? I mean, how, we talking?
If Sandy thinks she can sit here and look at me,
discussion.
if Sandy says she can do
Does
this
anybody
and
else
have a
wanna
report ready
discuss?
for this
No, so
board
that's, as far as
by the January
We're not going to
meeting,
be until 7 o'clock tonight with this.
Can you do that?
I can do that. I mean, ultimately, I'm not responsible for auctioneers that don't respond.
that's correct. But I'd rather have it in writing than I have, I'm not saying, I know a lot of auctioneers.
And I want to
that's
see a
got
copy of the
email.
letter that goes out.
I want to see that,
That
I want
should
to
be
see.
provided.
I want to see a
Okay.
copy of the letter
I
that
want to see a
goes out.
copy
I
of
don't
the
want
letter
any
that goes
advocacy
out.
one way or
I
the
don't
other.
want no ad-libbing or what somebody wants. I want 2 straight questions,
Right.
Let's get
yes or
something
no.
typed up. We'll get it to the board first. Give them 3 days to respond. Yes, no, they approve. They would
Well, you
like to see
can't, you
this.
got to give more than, you mean the
For
board
us,
members?
just us,
Yeah.
just us,
Okay.
yes. And then send it out. I think that, I mean,
I'd
that way,
like five,
everybody sees.
I'd like 5 days to respond as a board member.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be
Okay.
out of town in the next few weeks.
That's fine.
But I mean, we got Thanksgiving coming in 2
And
weeks.
Christmas.
Then 3 weeks later, you got Christmas coming and New Year's coming. Then we got a board meeting sandwich in between that when Mardi Gras starts. So,
And I'm out raising money for candidates right now,
And,
so I
you
can
know,
tell you.
at least
I
we'll
raise
be
money for
out
the
of the
district
political
judges, so-
season for about 90 days.
Yeah,
So. you
And
know,
I want
if
to know what
Sandy
the
can do it
Louisiana
by
Auctioneer Board,
January,
what
I'll
the
say, yeah, I'll go along with
Louisiana
January
Auctioneers
date, Jacob.
Association thinks about that.
Anna, now I
Well, I
got
mean,
a
it's a-
question for Anna. Can you get an Attorney General's opinion on this for January?
What do you want an attorney?
I want Attorney General's opinion on this oath, on this law for the state of Louisiana. I want the Attorney General to say yes or no, in his opinion, it would be legal to do this.
For the board to do it,
For
rather
the
than
board
putting
to
it up
do it
before the
rather than the
legislature.
legislature.
I assume we could. I don't see
I
any reason
want the
to say-
Attorney, you're not the
Well,
Attorney General.
Well, no, the question is that y'all have to vote to request an Attorney General's opinion to do that. It has to come from a board
Okay.
opinion. I see no basis because we only have one reference in the law to this effect. And I just read it to you. It's up to y'all entirely.
So we would have to just call for a separate vote?
That would have to be a separate vote, the Attorney
And it's not
General.
on the agenda.
It would have to be on the agenda in order? Okay.
You have to have it on the agenda before you can vote on it.
No, it's too late to amend the agenda to
Too
add it.
late to amend.
All right.
They have told us that used to we could just, any member of the board could do it, but they have now told us that you have to have a vote of the agency, governing authority, before they will even look at it.
Motion on the floor.
I'll second.
We have public comment before we vote.
You've already come, I don't have any more
Motion to
public
table.
comment.
Okay.
This is
The
motion
motion's to table.
That's still a vote.
Ah.
And any vote requires public comment.
Not on the table. I stand to correct you on that. Under Robert's rule, a table is a table. No public comment.
I second your motion, Mr. Sims.
Henry, it's okay.
No, it isn't. He can't advise to send back. I don't want to hear from Robert. It's disrupting the meeting. I second Mr. Sims' motion.
Tabling it, is there a date to table it to? Are we doing a
The
January
January
date?
meeting? January, what's the meeting date?
The fourth?
Not voted yet.
Oh, okay.
They ain't voted, whatever the meeting
Whatever the
date
meeting
is,
date is.
January.
First, second week, second or third week, probably.
Yeah,
She's got the
whatever
date down here, but I can't use it because it's proposed.
Is there any further discussion on this motion?
No, sir.
Y'all not gonna allow public comment?
No.
There's no public comment under
no.
Robert's rules of order on the table.
It's a vote.
It's a vote.
It is a vote.
It's a vote.
Yes,
Just
it's
heard
a
your
vote.
attorney say it's a vote. Even though I got a sheriff deputy.
Who's,
trying to shut me down from
calm
being
down, calm down. Who's speaking?
Both of us.
1 minute each, let's go.
Well, I thank the board, Freddie Phillips, President Freddie Phillips Auctioneering School. I'm very disappointed, not in the way you're doing it, but I'm very disappointed in the way you're looking at it. And, you know, Ms. Warren has made a valiant point of reference that this board has not done anything. What is good is to go get an associational opinion, when the associational opinion doesn't have anything to do with what you do here as a general body. And then on the second side of that is, what we're doing here is giving opportunity to those who don't have the luxury of going to a Missouri auction school like I did and spend a couple of weeks up there and spend several $1,000s. You know, and that's where the barrier of entry comes in. And then you make statements concerning fraudulent and paper mills and all these things here, where if you look at it, the problem doesn't seem to be coming from the area in which you think online education is causing, because there's no documentation. And what we are putting out there, it speaks for itself. And what Mr. Warren said, they have to come here and they have to pass a written test. And that test is what validates their credentials and their credibility. I know I wasn't up a minute just then.
That was, yes. You went over a minute.
Brad, I'll give you a couple more seconds to wrap it up.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, and I think we need to be more sensible to that fact that, you know, look, we're trying to help advance the opportunities. But these barriers of interest based on opinions of people who may be pro or con, the educational future is going that way. Why do we have to always prolong these educational opportunities? And I think that's what's going on here.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, Joseph, because I'm a lot shorter than you. I doubt Sandy's willing to accept any kind of compliment from me, and I understand that.
I'd be happy to take any compliment from
Well, then I'm
anyone.
going to compliment you then. Thank you for what you said. She's about to cry.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Thank you for what you said. I deeply appreciate it. And what you said is truthful. We both know it. And I know coming from me that may be hard to take, but thank you. Secondly, y'all can send out a letter. Everybody knows what's going to happen, okay? You're talking about sending out a letter to an organization who put this out. I'll give it to you. With regard to Reverend Phillips and the unanimous, and it's got that word in here, unanimous, we don't want him on this board. This is put out on the LAA's website, okay? So I can tell you what the reaction is going to be. It's going to be not no, but H-E-double-L, no, okay? And it's that simple. I mean, it's still out there on their website today, okay? So I know Ms. Jacobs touts her LAA membership, but you're going to send out letters asking these folks for an opinion?
Okay, now wait a minute. I didn't author anything that you're showing to the board, and I want to see a copy of that.
You're welcome to see it.
Because I haven't seen it, and you're referring to it, but don't say that I authored it, because I
didn't say
didn't.
you authored it. I said you have reference that you're a member of the
I am a
LAA.
member of it, and I'm a proud member
I
of it.
understand that. But I have an individual email that you put out right here
Well,
that I'll leave. I really think this needs to be entered into the record for any consideration of this matter. Now, I will conclude by saying that this board voted against permitting us to continue what it had already permitted us to do in January. January is going to soon be up. Most attorneys know that there's 1 year period for taking action. I'm going to leave it at that. I've tried to be as polite as I could be here today, but it is frustrating to hear what I know is deep-rooted sentiments about one or both of us. And, you know, the reaction, you're going to waste a lot of time to send those letters out. I can already tell you it's going to be not no, but hell no. I'm sorry, H-E-double-L no. That's what it's going to be, okay? You'll spend a lot of money and you'll send it out. And I think everybody in this room, if you're honest with yourself, will know that any organization that would put out that kind of a statement, and you're welcome to take a few moments to look at it, Chairman Warren, you know what you're going to get, okay? And so if you're going to use that as the basis, you may as well vote to deny at least our school or his school. You may as well vote to deny it now, okay? But I would submit that Ms. Edmonds is correct. There's a broader universe to consider here. And if anyone, I mean, we were asked to provide the curriculum, we did that. We were asked to provide links for the online instruction, we did that. Okay, and so if anybody wants to say they've been to those links and challenge me on the content, I'll be happy to accept your criticism, and I want to make an effort to fix it. But that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing just a generic, this ain't going to work.
we're not on his auction yet, are we? Because I have something that I want to say
No,
about
Missouri,
it.
Missouri.
Y'all were going to table both. If I misunderstood and you weren't tabling both, I was under the impression you were tabling.
We're just doing Missouri.
We're doing Missouri, not
I have some
Fred's.
stuff on you.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I thought y'all had wrapped them all together, but.
No,
But we'll
no,
take
Some
your
stuff on
minute.
you.
We'll take
Don't worry, I got stuff on
That's
you.
all right.
That's your minute for the next one. You got
That's
anything on
fine.
Missouri? on
Yeah,
school?
I'll take and consolidated 2 minutes and we'll call it a day. Thank you.
All right, but all right, so we got table 2, January, we got a motion and a second.
do you wanna-
I don't want to see that, I mean,
Do a roll call?
yeah, right,
All right,
Are you ready?
sure.
yeah. You can have this
All
one.
right, so the motion is to table until January. Mr. Henderson,
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs.
Yes,
Mr. Lockett,
Yes.
Mr. Sims.
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
No. Motion passes. All right, the next one will be the Freddie Lee Phillips School of Auctioneering. Seems like we've already had the discussion about online and pre-licensing education, or I guess
Oh, I have
distance
some
learning.
questions I would like to ask Mr. Phillips. I mean, is it open for discussion or not?
Sure.
About his school, Mr. Phillips?
I make a motion to consider Freddie School deal. That way you put it on the floor legally. Somebody second.
So
Well,
what
what's
now?
Motion?
To discuss Freddie School.
Yeah, I second that motion. I have some questions on it.
There's no
Well,
motion needed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. Mr. Phillips, I have some questions. You don't want to answer any questions?
Ma'am, I provided everything.
Okay, you don't want to answer any questions. Okay, good.
When you get to the vote, I want to make public comments in regards to what I've committed to being correct.
Have any comment about it? Any?
Well, I had some questions of Reverend Phillips, but he apparently doesn't want to answer the question.
Mr. Chairman, I did submit documentation that I would ask of the attorney's advice that Ms. Davis recuse herself from
I'm not going to
any
recuse
voting.
myself.
And I'm just asking the recommendation. I submitted information there saying that I want to read into record or either enter into record. Doesn't matter on my position with Ms.
What, are you talking about the packet you sent over in
Yes,
email?
no, the two letters that are out here now.
Well, you didn't submit them.
The
No,
two
no.
letters, I, just so you know, I gave the board each a copy of the email that
No,
you
ma'am,
sent me.
this is what Mr. Sims, I think we just passed them out. That's what
Oh.
it is.
No, I just handed
What
it.
Robert
to you.
gave us.
What Robert gave you?
Nobody should have them.
Yeah, they're right here. These are the two that I
Oh,
would like,
those, I'm,
Oh,
I thought you were referring to what you sent us.
yes.
So I was confused at that.
No, I'm sorry, but that's the only thing I want to say. I mean, we've submitted everything, and everything was put black and white. There's no reason for me to have to ask any questions or answer. Thank you, sir. But I let the record speak. I did ask Mr. Jacobs to recuse herself and do this.
Freddie, could I ask you a question, please? If it's a question, direct question for clarification of some of your points in your submittal, would you be so kind to answer those?
In regards to what?
If somebody's got a technical question with the submittal you made to the board for your auction school, if somebody's got a question about some part of the submittal, will you answer the questions?
Well, Mr. Sims, let me just say this.
I don't want to hear no generic answer.
No, this
Your
is not
lawyer
generic
told me
answer,
this.
but
I'm
if there
asking
were
a straight
questions-
question, that's
Yes,
all.
sir. If
I'm
you
not
have any
picking on
questions-
nobody, I'm asking a question.
Listen to me, I'm going to answer you. And you can put them in writing, and I'll respond in writing, just like I did when I submitted the information.
Yeah, he's-
So for clarification purposes, submit it in writing to me, so that way it could be sent from the board in clarification to what the board is asking, and then I'll respond. That's the proper way to do this.
You're not going to answer anything in a public meeting.
Sir.
Is that what, I want to
He's
hear,
saying
sir.
no.
Are you
He's
going to
saying no.
answer a question in a public meeting? That's what I want to know. Okay, thank you.
If you would like, at his request, we're going to submit those to him later on. We can submit them in
No,
writing.
no, he doesn't want to answer my questions. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. All
I
right.
kept an open mind on this and studied this,
Move to table this to
Yeah.
January as well.
and I second that motion.
In a second. We're going to have to roll call out. You guys want 1 minute on this one?
Mr. Chairman, I've stated my position, and my position still stands. Like I said before, I'll say again, look, I appreciate the consideration, but at this juncture, it seems as though we're hell-bent on stopping the future of the industry from going forward. And that's only because of this Flintstone age approach.
You know, I stayed there 20 seconds, that's all I need.
I don't think we're hell-bent on stopping it. I'm going to disagree with you there. I think we just want to make sure it's right before it progresses. I think that's the stance of a couple of the board members. And I don't think the board as a whole is hell-bent on stopping it. So I'm just going to correct you with that. That's all I'm going to say.
Let me say this.
No, we're good.
No, I'm just saying in regards to that, we provide in-class education now. So it's no more than extensions of giving people a break to be able to come to their convenience and get the same education. So we've done what we're supposed to do, and our curriculum stands above in high range. Our test scores prove what we say based on what we provide. And that's what you should go by.
Can I get 20 seconds? Doesn't matter.
Sure.
The last thing I'll say is that, I agree that an Attorney General's opinion would be a great idea, a fantastic idea. That opportunity has been available, as you've said, for about a year, and it may require a vote of the board, but let me say this. I am extremely comfortable with putting this in front of Attorney General Jeff Landry and having him issue an opinion. I'll conclude
Is
it.
that because you gave him a bunch of money, Robert?
No, come on. It's not nothing to do with that. All right, let's go. We're
Just
good.
let.
Come on, Rob.
For your
Come on,
information,
Robert.
Come on, Robert.
for full disclosure, yes, I did give approximately $1,500 to Jeff Landry's campaign.
All right, perfect. What's this got to do with the school election?
Robert, I was more or less being facetious.
But I doubt he's going to make a decision of this magnitude based on a lousy $1,500. But I do admire Jeff Landry. I don't mind saying that.
Do we need this?
But I'm
We're
comfortable with
gonna
that.
vote.
Yeah, you gave a lot more.
We're gonna
You gave a
vote.
whole lot more.
How do you know what I gave you?
Let's go. Let's,
Well, stop looking at my finances. It's got nothing to do with you.
okay. Mr. Burns, please sit down. And, let's not comment anymore.
I give a lot of people a lot of money that are in
Let's vote.
my business.
You all can have that discussion in the hallway after, not in this meeting.
The motion is to table this until the Freddie Lee Phillips School of Auctioneering until the January meeting. Mr. Henderson,
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Lockett,
Yes.
Mr. Sims. Mr. Hill,
No.
Mr. Warren.
No.
It's 4-2, passes.
Motion passes. All right. On to the next one. We've got online auction. I think you proposed something.
I
for the
proposed
law.
something, but of course, that's just for your consideration. I
Right.
think the legislature has to look at this, and then I want to give it to the Louisiana Auctioneers Association, get their comments on it. Where I think things like this should be done. And I'm giving it first to Terry, because Terry's in law school, to let him comment on it. And then anybody else that would want to add something to it, that's fine. And then I think we can work from there.
Is this, at this point in time, Sandy or Anna, is this the only thing we've got right now?
I made a proposal to the board a year and a half
That's
ago.
right. That's right.
This, I looked at this, I'm not sure it works with our current statute. As a matter of fact, it appears to be, you got this from Kentucky?
From Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Not all of it from Pennsylvania, but I have taken it from other
Because
jurisdictions.
there's a reference here to Public Law 1080.
Well, that's got to come out of that. That's
Yeah,
for
I
a
think
specific
because a lot of
state.
this,
Yeah.
it's very simple what we have to do. Well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's simple. My recommendation, auctioneers right now, there's no restriction on online. That eBay's provision amended auction house, not auctioneers. We can actually fix that by regulation as one option. We can also go to the legislature and specify specifically that we can regulate online auctions. Some of what you have in here, as a matter of fact, is what I suggested a year and a half ago. Some of the statute actually turns over all of our functions to the state of Louisiana, which means we'd have no control of it. And I cannot recommend that because it would allow them to take all of our money and basically put us out there.
Well, that's why I'm giving you all, because I want people to comment on it. And,
It just looks to be somebody else's statute that
Well,
hasn't been updated to
yeah.
amend. I don't think we need to change the whole statute anyway. So I think what you've got in here with regard to how to change the definition, I'm not sure about televised auctions, that's never been an issue. Live televised auction is under our statute. Phone bids are under our statute right now. Also, so phone in, it's internet, online, that are not simulcast are our issue. And our main issue right now with enforcing it is actually the problem that we have with our auction house legislation. Not only has eBay come in and said, you know, if it's an eBay-style auction house, we can't regulate it, but we require auction houses to have an individual auctioneer calling it. If you have your computer actually doing the bidding, accepting bidding, et cetera, the computer is acting as the live auctioneer, and we need to resolve that in our statute more than we need to do the rest of this. Because that's the problem I'm running into. That is actually the factual problem. We're now enforcing internet auctions. Some of the people you've seen come for us and ask for licensing are in online auctions that do not have local. I'm telling them to at least get an auction house license at this point. That's our problem, since we have no licensed auctioneer to do them because they don't need one. That is a functional problem. Pennsylvania, to some extent, has tried to resolve this, and I think that's a decision the board needs to make, just to go to the legislature and amend the definitions of auction house and auction to include specifically anything having to do with online or internet-based without live simulcast auctions. And let me say this, I shouldn't say it's all that simple either, because you get into it, we have to define what's a platform and what's not a platform.
Well, why don't you give me your suggestions, if you can? Write
Yeah, I gave
down
them
for
to
me.
you about a year and a half ago, but
Okay,
I'll be glad
write
to
them
go.
down, and then let me, and I'm looking for suggestions from other people.
Okay.
And then we'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah, I'll give you the same
Okay,
memo. I've
good.
updated it to include this
All right,
issue
good.
of licensed auctioneers working with the
Yeah.
internet platform.
What was y'all talking about when you came back from NOLA about these online auctions?
The fact that,
Didn't you say y'all were going to incorporate some of that into the rules that y'all wanted to do?
I made a suggestion to you to amend our rules to allow some of the definition to be more specific. We have actually, surprisingly, not defined auction in our regulations ever. And I think that's our opportunity to go ahead and be more specific and do it, for which we don't need to go to the legislature. I would prefer it be done in the bill, but that's something we can start working on now, to define auction to include online auctions.
What's the latest we can get something to the legislature?
We would need to have it ready to go in January.
Well, then the session's not till April, is it?
Right, but you have to, they pre-file, and you have to get someone to sponsor and go through that.
and it's a budget year.
Yeah, so you have to get it early or else.
Yeah, you're only allowed 5 bills
Right.
apiece. That's not budget, right? Right?
That's correct.
So we need to have something put together and ready to vote by January.
Right.
Good.
I'll be glad to
Yeah, give me
resend
what you
my
gave me
memo.
before, and I'm ready for any of you all to give me
Can you get it and
suggestions. I'll
send it
try to
out
put them
to us
together.
for the January meeting so we can see it?
I've sent you the
What you did was
updated
good. It's
memo.
got a couple of things like you
Yeah,
said.
well, that's why I gave it to y'all.
Yeah.
I want to see what y'all have to say.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and send that out.
Anna, is
Yes,
the
sir.
time, is the pre-file deadline different for the 5 non-germane bills, since it's a budget, it will be a budget session? Is it later than what it should, than
There's
what
a
it would be?
deadline within, it runs similar in the sense that there is a deadline after the start to get everything in. The problem is that most people want to get their 5 bills set
Right,
up
yeah.
before and
Okay.
get that done. But they can hold off, and if they have another bill, if we can't style this as a fee bill,
Okay.
basically. I don't know the deadline after the start.
Oh, no, I mean, we can look it up.
You can look at what the legislature has.
Right. I'm just thinking about, I was just asking that question, because whatever actions we take and we find a sponsor, and then they may want to change, we may go back and forth for a little bit as far as
Yeah.
particular language.
And again, we have a certain number of legislators who are interested in the auction industry,
Okay,
who we can approach already and say, we want to do something like this.
okay,
And if we approach it along the lines of, we want to be able to protect people who go online and specify it well enough to make sure it just affects Louisiana residents, I think the legislators will be fine with it. Is if we go too bad, then the problem that we get into with some legislators with regard to online transactions. With the sales tax thing kicking in also, I think it's going to come up again with the legislature. Now that sales tax can be collected on online sales, I think this is all going to be, we may be able to even tack onto that bill, depending on how it works.
Okay.
The internet auction memo that Anna wrote was just forwarded to each of you.
It was what now?
I just forwarded to your
Oh,
email.
thank you.
It's in
Thank
your
you.
inbox.
You all
Okay,
got it.
good. All right.
So I need a motion, I guess, to table till January till we have the proper.
I'd like
we
to
can
make a
move forward.
motion that it be tabled until January.
Second.
And be ready to vote so we can get it sent to the Capitol, I guess.
All right, motion to table January. Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. Motion passes. Next one's a fun one. Everybody pull out your calendars.
There's a calendar in your packet.
Yeah,
You said that first.
yeah. It's a color calendar.
I
those
move
are
to
the
go with
proposed
the
dates.
dates that she's got listed.
Let me see. Do I have one?
Yeah, everybody got one.
I'm pretty much stuck with how we did it this year, just taking
Okay,
into
thank you.
account,
Can I
I
have
think
this
we
one?
moved Mardi Gras, just so we weren't meeting the day
Okay.
before Mardi Gras.
Yeah, okay. So the next meeting is the 14th then of January, right?
Yeah.
If you guys vote that, and yes.
Isn't that Valentine? No, that's not
That'd be
Valentine's Day.
February.
I move that the meetings for January 14th, March 11th, May 6th, July 8th, September 9th, November 4th be the board meeting dates for 2019.
A second.
Second.
I'm gonna give this one to you.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion we need to have on these dates? Nobody opposed? Motion, we about to say something? Okay.
So March the 11th is going to be the,
The
rather.
week after, the
Yeah,
week
okay, that, I
after
just
Mardi
wanted to
Gras.
make sure. Thank you.
Yep. Motion passes. So the next meeting date will be January 14th. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second, roll call. Being funny.
I'll second.
An adjourn is when you get up
Yes.
and walk away. That's the roll call.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys.
All right, everybody. Happy New
Thank you.
Year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, same to
See you
you.
guys next year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
See you next Tuesday.